I suppose what we want to do today is give you a real practical view of how TV can really work for scale-up brands as well. And it's not just exclusive and for, you know, the big brands we've all been mentioning today, such as Nike, etc. Great to hear so many of you talk about sport as well in ads, because I think for Sky, obviously, sport is massive for us, and it does resonate so much with culture. And I know a lot of your brands are based around sport as well. So it's great for you to say that, because that's obviously lasted in your brains for such a long time. Oh, sorry, I thought it was mic'd up.
Yeah, just for that and more.
Sorry, just talking about sport in ads. It'd be great to give you a really practical view of what you can do to use TV to scale up. And then there's a lot of really realistic and manageable test and learn opportunities as well on TV, which we want to touch on, and give you some confidence as well, because you're probably used to quite digital, highly measured channels, and just to give you confidence that the TV can do that for you as well. In terms of just a bit about myself and my journey with Sky, like I said, I've worked at Sky on and off for a few years. The reason I keep coming back, it probably sounds like it's quite a toxic, codependent relationship, because it's been 3 times back and forth, but not at all. It's just there's so much going on at Sky. Like most of you probably touch it at some point in your week, you know, whether that's on the Sky News app or seeing Sky Sports in a pub. We've also got Sky Mobile. You know, we've got all these fantastic sort of unique customer data touch points that I think we should be talking to you guys more as SMEs, because they're so beneficial for you in terms of like learning about your audience and growing. And for us, it's what we want really is a mutually beneficial partnership with brands, because it's all about growth. Like, you're here because you want to grow, and we're exactly the same. You know, TV's been operating with big brands for a long, long time, and actually we're not going to grow unless we start to speak to new brands as well. So that's why we're here today. So selfishly, there's something in it for us, but we really genuinely want to help you guys too. So having worked on you know, big brands and a big corporate for such a long time, it's actually Syra and I genuinely get really excited to hear about sort of the impact that TV has on new brands, because it does have such a huge impact if you've not been on TV before. And that's why we brought our client Sam in today from Tiger Sheds to talk about his journey as well. So yes, there's loads of things to touch on. You can just please shout up and ask questions as you go. Don't want to overwhelm with complicated stats or anything like that. We just genuinely just want to talk about how TV really can deliver, and how it is now powered by data, and you know, traditional TV is not the way in anymore. We're unique in that we're a streamer, a content creator, which means there's so many different touch points in terms of brand partnerships, straightforward ads, sponsorships. We were talking to Ramona before, and she's found loads of success with that. So I think what we're really trying to foster is a maintain this network and have like a consultative conversations with you guys to see what we can do to help. So that's why we're here. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Syra, who's going to talk more about our performance journey with TV.
Yeah, so very similar amount of time. I think Rafina and I came into the media industry at very similar time, so 20 plus years. I started working media agency side, so a lot of that time was spent at Mediacom in Manchester, where Bex worked as well, so we worked together for a little while as well before I left. At Mediacom, I worked with a lot of performance-based challenger brands. I worked with lots of different types of brands, so brands that were already spending on TV and were just looking to scale further, but then also performance-based brands that had never done TV. And at the time, those types of brands included people like Money Supermarket, AO. Obviously, they're big leaders in their category now, but when they started with us at Mediacom, they had never dabbled with TV, and they needed to, you know, grow, but they also needed to do it in a way that was sustainable for them. So we helped them do that, and there's loads of other examples I can give you. And then I moved to Sky about 8 years ago, predominantly to build out their performance TV product here in the north, because they were doing it in London. But they were doing attribution. So everybody always thinks that TV, you can't measure, you can't optimize, you can't attribute, but actually you can. And Sky have been doing it for, I want to say 10, 12 years now. So I built that up in the north. they were manually attributing at the time. And when I saw the spreadsheets, I literally wanted to cry and leave the job because I'm not a spreadsheet type of person. So I helped on board Adelizer, which is a third-party attribution model. So what they do is they track when a spot goes out on TV, what is the immediate impact on your website traffic, and then all the way down to sales as well. What I absolutely love about Sky is that we have, I think I was telling Ollie before, that we have lots of retail partners as well. So we're not just, TV. We have addressable across TV, digital as well. We have partners like Nectar, dunnhumby, Boots. We've got like 1,200 attributes that we can apply and really hone in on your target audience, whether that's on TV or on digital as well. Going back to the performance TV, when I was there, because we simplified everything and we worked with lots of challenger brands. So brands like, at the time, again, who'd never done TV, were brands like Starling, Monzo, Peloton, ClearScore, who are obviously now, again, leaders in their category. We help them scale and grow by testing, learning, optimizing, and then helping them scale. And that's exactly what I do now as well. So I work in the client team where I work directly with advertisers who are already spending, but also new to TV advertisers. That's my passion point, because I've always worked with challenger brands where I've helped them understand the performance of TV, what it drives immediately, but in the long term as well, because everybody wants to know, if I spend £1, what's actually going to happen tomorrow, right? That's what everyone's business is built on, and that helps you scale as well. So it's not about, TV isn't scary where you spend £1 million like the big brands. You can start off small, depending on where you are in the journey, test, learn, optimize, and then scale accordingly as well.
So what does small, like how small?
So we can do anything from a TV perspective. We can do anything from like 50K if you want to test, learn, and optimize. That's like we can do lower, but if you really want to understand what your business is driving online to your online sales or retail sales, that's kind of like a good starting point for a month's campaign. And then like I said, we've had, like the likes of Peloton, likes of Starling. So that's where they started and that's how they grew. And now they're doing like brand partnerships. So I think the overall message is that we're not just here as a one-off campaign, let's test. We're here as a growth partner. So it's not just what we'll do for you now. It's okay, if you look at the likes of Starling or, Monzo or wherever, they're at a point in their journey now where they're doing brand partnerships with us. They're looking at how can they access our talent, IP, sponsorship, etc. So they're at a different point in their journey, but we're kind of almost like wanted to become that growth partner. I'm going to be shut up now and just hand over to Sam, who's actually been on that journey with us and can kind of shed a bit more light on what it took for them to test TV and then grow with us as well. So do you want to do a little introduction, Sam?
Yes. So hello, everybody. So my name's Sam Jackson, as I may have mentioned before. I work for Woodlands Home and Garden Group. We are owning the Tiger brand of sheds. Our TV ad campaign, second verse this year, just finished on Tuesday, successfully with Sky. But to backtrack a bit from that, I have quite a lot of experience of putting brands on TV. So I did it with Victoria Plum, the bathroom people. I did it with a couple of mobility companies. So if you or a relative are ever watching ITV3 and there's somebody getting in and out of a self-raising chair, that's me. Sorry about that.
You didn't know we were inviting rock stars today.
Absolutely. And now we've been on a journey with Tiger. In all cases, it's been working with founders and owners of the business, and that's quite interesting. I'm very conscious that when I'm marketing, I'm spending your money as a marketeer, and you have to really be really dead set, have a clear idea and a clear vision of what you want to do. So what we wanted to do for Tiger in what I was brought into Tiger to do in 2019 was to set about differentiating the business, because even before COVID hit, we're in a very commoditised market. A shed was a shed, was a shed. And it's very congested space because everybody was digitally advertising and there's a lot of cost of clicks at certain key points. It's a very seasonal business. And then COVID hit, and then that market got even more congested. And we really wanted to try and differentiate ourselves. So we looked at everything across the board, our imagery, we developed a brochure, we did various different things, and made our building, re-engineered our buildings so they were distinctive. So if you saw something in a garden, you know that was a tiger shed compared to everything else. And we really wanted to build the brand. And if anything, the life after COVID was even more difficult because not only was it even more congested because a lot of people had entered into that space. Because I'm sure you'll remember living outdoors was a bit of a thing, and you know it was getting quite bad. So we were looking for a space where we could get our message across away from the digital bonfire. And you want to build a brand, and you know, experience tells me that the best vehicle for doing this is on TV. We've all gone around the table going, what's our favourite TV ad? And some of us have more or less. If I was to do that and say, what's your favourite digital ad? What's your favourite remarketing ad? What are those kind of things? You'd be hard pressed to think of anything unless it was related to a TV commercial campaign. So we really knew we wanted to do that. And so, you know, we wanted to elevate our business, and therefore we look around for doing a TV ad. So, are there any questions you want to ask? Or is
I wanted to ask you, before doing, what made you want to do TV, and what was your marketing mix? Was there a point where you thought, okay, now we need to do X to do? You know?
Yeah, I think you know, as I said, the market you want to differentiate yourself. We also, post-COVID, the other thing, so as well as being commoditised, congested, it was increasingly costly because boring timber fact is that after COVID, timber got really, really expensive because there was a bug in the pestilence or something in the North American timber market. The North American construction industry was revving up again, and a lot of their buildings are timber based. And then the added complication was the Ukraine war happened, which meant that withdrew Russian timber from the market. So it's our chief component, but very expensive. And if you're looking for something else to try and convey the quality of what you do, and I think our positioning is kind of like the M&S of sheds. It's not just a shed; it's a tiger shed. But we're also in that space, so we're kind of upper mid-market. We're not Crane Garden Buildings who work with the OHS or English Heritage. We're you know, accessible, inspirational, aspirational, but affordable as well. And we really wanted to convey that messaging across, and you know, visually that really works, and we wanted to have, you know, to be able to do that. And PPC, you know, you'll talk about the funnel, and everybody talks about the funnel from a digital perspective. You know, like socials, you talk when you're coming down. You know, it's very much the now, whereas, you know, there's an element of wanting to not only get your message across to the people who are in market, but the people who are going to be in market next year, and the people who will be in market next year. And it's a strategy, it's not a tactic. So you have to believe that that's where you want to go, because you know it's a commitment, it's a creative commitment, it's a branding commitment, you know, and it's an investment. It's a bit like buying a house. You know, you can rent, but all you see is this, you know, you get what you pay for. You can buy bigger investment, but then it's yours. Everybody knows where you are. Eventually, after a long period of time, the payments decrease, but you can do what you want with the house. You can add bits on. You know, so it's a bit like that, and that mentality about let's go and put a marker down and get out of the PPC sort of digital gunfight was something that we really wanted to do. And it also gives you a lot more options, but we'll touch on that, I think, a bit later.
Yeah, I was just gonna, when you did test TV, at what point did you think, okay, this is actually doing well for my business, is driving what I wanted TV to drive, and what steps did you take to kind of make that happen?
In terms of the shift to TV, it's quite a dramatic thing. So, first of all, you have to think about what's your objective. Are you going to want to build awareness? Are you building reach? Are you establishing authority? Do you want to sell stuff? And when and how? And that will dictate your plan from a day part point of view and a channel choice. But also in terms of testing, you kind of go, well, I can come in slowly, or I can go full on. And certainly the discussions I've had with all of the founders, and I'm not saying this is a founder's mindset, but empirically, that's what I've discovered, is you go, well, if you're going to do it, go large, go home. So, and there's different definitions of large, but you have to commit. So, and that then means you do get first mover advantage. So we moved on, and when we're in the first campaign we did in 2022 was quite a big one, but again it's in a concentrated period of time. So the season for us is, from a TV point of view, is either March to May. Depends what it is, but and we had a lot of TV, and you can see quite a lot of things happen. You have to be. The other thing is get your measurement sorted out beforehand, what you're going to measure, because you kind of need to see everything. So you need to look at your visits, obviously. You look at your analyzer tools that will sync with when your TV ads are on. You need to coordinate with your digital agency, because you need to let them know when the spots are, so they can organise that. There's a lot of things you need to get sorted, but we saw an immediate impact in terms of awareness, in terms of visits, in terms of sales, and it also has a bit of a halo effect. So it's not just while it's on, but immediately it's the couple of months after, you can still see an uplift.
I can second that, because I've done a bit of product placement on Sky, and we always aligned our socials with the product placement, and our sales, I can show you data, they were phenomenal. We sold out every single time we did it.
Really? Amazing.
That was with like Soccer AM and things like that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point, isn't it, about selling out? We were discussing this before. What weren't you ready for, and what advice would you give to
I think
guys to make
you need to be TV ready. There is nothing worse than generating lots of demand.
I can second that also.
And that's, but it's also, it's a bit like it's medicine for your business, because TV is like the hammer. We hammered our business together. So, from an operational point of view, TV is the medicine that made us work together, and structurally, we collaborate internally a lot more than if I was in a digital side. Because also everybody in the business, it's the bit of marketing everybody can see, and people talk about, and people tell me about. My mum just ring up and go, I saw you just in a digital ad takes. Oh, you're on TV. My commercial director was on his stag do last weekend, and the tiger ad came up on the Sky School, and the whole public, and he was once proud and a bit embarrassed. But it's one of those, and there's a challenge, but it makes us better. We are a make to order business. So, unlike a lot of our competitors who import from Eastern Europe, etc., our Scandinavian timber, Scandinavian timber could be anything. But obviously that takes time. And the other thing about brand is if you build brand and trust, it sort of gives you a bit of slack in terms of it's going to be worth the wait. but it's also making sure when you are ready for TV that you can capture that demand, you can engage with that demand. So if, I'm also a believer in print, I like to be multi touch points for the consumer so they can always access. So one of the instant things that we could see is we redid our brochures. We had a physical brochure. We made it as qualitative as the TV ad. And we're not here to talk about print, but I recommend that. And you could see where historically we've had, our engagement on brochures is a bit meh. It just rocketed. I mean, it's a good job we ordered 10,000 because we had to reprint, but we were prepared for that. So there's a lot of things that we need to get our ducks in a row for. But the other thing about TV is not just the operational aspect, but it's the opportunity aspect. Being on TV opened doors for us that had made us visible not just to the consumer, but to suppliers, potential partners. It just made us more visible, and that's a kind of like a silent investment. And we historically have also had a bit of a challenge recruiting for our 3 workshops. But when you're on TV, then people have a bit more of an understanding of who you are, and it's a bit more of a reputable company, and it's a bit more worth putting the application.
It's good to talk about barriers, because I think that we're all real barriers to TV, and the one that comes up time and time again when we're speaking to new TV brands is creative, and having that sort of high impact format that will fit onto a premium environment. So tell us a bit about your journey creatively.
Well, obviously, taking a step back. So historically, we're talking pre-AI at the moment. There is a significant investment. In fact, it's probably the biggest investment you'll make disproportionately to your first campaign. So be really mindful about the versatility of your adverts. So we shot for Tiger, enough footage to have 2 different creative takes on the same theme, be able to have footage for a 60-minute online ad, 30 in 10s, and balance that airtime, so 30 seconds and 10 seconds. But also be mindful also about being able to have enough footage. So if you wanted to do an hour of sponsorship, so you need about a minute's worth of creative assets to do that. So give us that flexibility, and if you have faith that you're going to be on TV and you're going to be on TV year in, year out, or certainly for a long period of time, then invest in your creative, because having the assets means that you can then repurpose it for social, for example. Our TV ad on social is still the most popular and watchable and engaging social video that we do. So just making sure you're multi-format and flexible. The other thing I would say when you're doing creative that we paid attention to is sonic idents or oral idents. So there's a big hoo-ha in marketing circles, because I'm sure when you're on LinkedIn, you'll have a different profile of people who post to you than I do, a humble head of marketing. But there's always this debate going on about the various assets, attributes of a really successful TV ad. And I look at that and I feel quite smug because we do all that. So the point of that is to have a really strong oral presence. So it's a bit like a lot of your viewers will not be watching. You hear of earworms, you don't hear of eyeworms. We've talked about Atkins and Stanley, and those are the standout things that people remember that. And that ad, I can't remember the ad, but I tell you it's. So it's making sure that you think about all of those things. And also, if you have a really strong soundtrack, then if you want to do radio, you've got something that will segue across as well. So it's just trying to plan ahead.
And I think What's
interesting about your creative is you've had it a long time and it's still delivering results, and that's probably a lot to do with being seasonal and it's not on across the whole year, but I think that investment has really paid off.
That is true. I mean, even though we are seasonal, we're only actually on TV for a period of time. Being on TV has slowly ratcheted up our awareness. So, we take, again, one of the measurements we do is some YouGov surveys and stuff, which is fairly basic, but a constant point of research year on year, with the same questions, awareness, consideration, and things like that. And it's fairly cheap and cheerful, but it's a good marker. It's not too sophisticated, but very basic, but very, very honest. And you can see that before the TV goes out, we're here. When TV goes out, we're here. After TV, we kind of go around here, but next year we start here. And then you just move. And that's an awareness 6-7 months after we've done our TV, so that people kind of it becomes a relatable thing. So even though our TV at the time, the ad was actually quite expensive, proportionate to how much media we spent, it's actually, it's a single-digit percentage.
We found the same thing actually. We did a few items for our sponsorship, and also made a point of making sure that we could do a table of food that obviously had hummus, and then we use that as a still shot, and if you can find a way to use those, I think, adverts in a way to use it across a lot of multiple channels for as long as possible, that percentage of the total spend, as you said, just becomes less and less and less, it becomes more and more.
Definitely,
Yeah,
and it looks good as well. Everything's you're building a brand, everything sings together, and it's much more powerful, I think.
So we're wanting equality to the execution, but also again coming back to the illusion about social video. So YouTube is the second biggest search engine. So having that assets that you can deploy there is really good. And we did tweak it. I mean, the other thing that we did, two things. One is we built 2 creative executions. So we tested one against the other to see what worked. And we basically rolled the winning one out. There wasn't much in it. If you're testing creative concepts, you can obviously do a bit of video or concepts pre-advertising. So you could test the impact on social and engagement for those concepts if it's not the final execution. And obviously there are things like System 1 where you can put your concept in or your actual TV in. We kind of did retrospectively when we were looking at the idea of how exposed have we been, at what point have we hit saturation, and we got really good marks in the System 1 testing for home and garden. So I think we're in the top 100, which is good, top 48. So we're really, really, really pleased with that. And if you've got that confidence in your creative, then you can roll it out.
And it's also quite staggering how much information there is on those, like how long your advert lasts and how long you can carry on showing that same one before people get sick of seeing it. And I mean, I was quite stunned at how much information there is on it, how many new users, how many people are watching it again.
And what parts are they looking at of the ad as well?
It's a bit scary.
Yeah, there's a lot.
How much everyone knows about us.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is that you will tire of your TV ad a lot quicker than the consumers will.
I'm interested as well, just on that point, to pull some people into the conversation as well around, particularly brands that have to be more on, I suppose, cultural relevance than, say, hummus and shit. I see it's
totally.
a constant. But actually, I'm thinking about you in the fashion world, for instance. How have you found that in terms of creative and how long it lasts, and I suppose how you then adapt?
Yeah, it's hard. It's my seasonal, so it's like the product's constantly evolving, and like now summer products obviously happening, so yeah, we do different campaigns for different seasons, and we need to keep on and probably make sure that we have like a couple of fresh ones for spring, a couple of fresh ones for summer, and then do the same going into trans and then winter. We don't have the budgets of some of the big brands to keep doing lots and lots and lots, so we have to be creative, come up with different ideas that keeps that freshness out there, because like I was just saying, you do almost get bored of your own ad a little bit quicker than maybe the people are watching it are, because you're just seeing it. You're at the creative stage early on, you've gone through it there, you've gone through sign off, gone through ideas, then it goes out there. By the time it's gone out there, you're almost thinking about what's the next one. So it's hard to judge exactly, but the good thing, we haven't done any TV ads, but the good thing on digital is you do instantly know, don't you, what's worked and what hasn't. So you know what you can leave out there for a little bit longer.
That you can actually, I know obviously Sam's talking about investment in a large, expensive, high quality ad, but because of tech, you can probably turn those into a TV ad relatively cheaply. So there are definitely other options now. We've seen first some of the sort of AI produced ads, we were a bit skeptical, but as the technology develops, there's some really impressive stuff, but it's all down to the assets you've got. So if you've got shoots of fashion wear, then they should work. So yeah, there's definitely other options.
Yeah, Mark, you must have been the same, I assume. What was your experience?
Yeah, we don't do any TV ads, but spend a lot on digital. We used to leave ads on for months at a time. They just seem to work. But now that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It seems to be sort of, they'll work for max sort of 30-ish days. But yeah, always just looking at the data on in the ads. But yeah, interested to hear about the TV stuff. So probably take a look. Interested to hear about you selling out with your products with placement on Soccer AM as well. So yeah, I guess for us, I don't think we're mass market. It's quite an expensive product, so it's interesting to learn more how that could be positioned on TV as well. So, but yeah, we predominantly just a lot of digital marketing and then brand partnerships with rugby teams and celebrities and things like that. So.
Can I ask about forecasting? Because that's always, I know for me, getting investment in, one of the hardest things is putting numbers on a spreadsheet that somebody's going to hold you accountable for and getting it wrong. What's everybody's experience of that process with TV in terms of what they have said will be deliverable versus what actually happens first out the gate and how long it takes to go through that iterative process?
Yeah, so from a TV perspective, we can provide you access to a dashboard that shows you all the numbers. So if you have a tag on your website, you can have that tag on just web traffic, or you can have it on all the different pages, or down to sale, acquisition, whatever it is. And then once that starts feeding through, you know exactly what TV is driving and how we're improving it through optimization. We've also got so much experience. We've been doing this for like 10 plus years. We've actually launched what's it called? It's called Project Norman. So it's basically we've taken the last 5 years worth of data, because we've been working with so many different brands and different categories. And now we're going to start using that tool to forecast for people in that same category.
Is that something that's coming, or is it already?
It's in play.
Right.
Yeah, it's early stages, but so some of it is a little bit manual at the moment still, but we're onboarding AI to make it really efficient. So it's essentially about 2,500 aggregated studies that we've got from our addressable product. We do actually want to onboard more our sort of normal linear ads as well. So it's not just addressability, because different platforms will work differently for different brands depending on their objectives. So you'd essentially be able to tell us your objectives, your category, your budget, and it would just find across all of the activity we've already done what would be the sweet spot for you in terms of like frequency, in terms of creative even. We're going to onboard creative recommendations as well. So it's just an amazing, slick planning tool based on really good real life campaign data. So it's working, but we just need it working faster. We need to pull in the creative element as well. So I think probably by the next quarter, we'll be pretty much there with it. But there's already stuff we can do now if you were to send us a brief. Manually,
we can do that. From a performance TV level perspective, we've had so many different brands and we've got financial brands on there. So we can kind of use that data to kind of help you forecast. If you spent this, then roughly this is...
It's more about the very start of the process. If I want to go out and I want to raise 5 million quid, 10 million quid, and I'm going to say, this is how much I'm going to bring in, it's the accuracy. And I think the reason a lot of people end up down the digital channel is that there is more surety around that ROI. That's not necessarily true from what you're saying, but it's how you bridge those two things and be able to present something that's credible to an investor, that you can say, here's all this data, this is why it's going to work, that will then allow you to get the...
That's exactly, would give you those benchmarks.
So things like average, if the campaigns in there that have had that attribution element, what the average response rate would have been for your category. So then we can forecast from there.
So I had a kind of question around about that, because is there any data that says that TV adverts don't actually work for particular brands or products? Because obviously, as we know, with the social stuff and the digital, you can, like with Facebook, Instagram, you can tailor it to who is seeing a product or who you want to actually target. But I mean, I'm looking at from our point of view, and looking and saying, like, if we put a TV advert out there, number one, it's kind of coping with an influx of inquiries, but are they the right type of inquiries that that you would ultimately want?
So from an addressable perspective, so TV is usually just a broad buy. So you buy a audience and then you're hoping that you're going to hit those people. But from an addressable perspective, because we've got Sky subscribers, we've got that data. We know exactly what viewer is in which house. So we can, and then we've got third-party partners like I said before, Boots, Nectar, dunnhumby, etc. So we can combine that data. Or if you want to make it richer, we can combine your first-party data with our Sky households to really make it more targeted. And only those people that are watching TV at the time will be seeing your ad. So we can be that targeted. That does come at a little bit of a premium because obviously we're taking on board lots of different partners. But if you really wanted to be solely targeted on that one specific type of person, then we can do that as well. And that's not just on TV, we can do it on digital as well.
That's interesting, because I didn't to kind of do that targeting.
And call to actions, because that's the other factor, obviously. On digital, you can present the advert and then they can click and they're there and they're buying. Because I think the rhetoric that I've always had on TV is, oh, you need it for awareness and brand presence, etc. But you'll get your return here. And as a startup brand, you can't afford to take those kind of bets. You need everything to be delivering for you. So is there a way to that call to action, follow it through in the TV because it's digital?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when you're creating, you'll probably back this, is when you're creating an ad, just make sure visually and from an audio perspective, even when someone isn't watching that ad, they know it's your ad. So if they're going to respond, they know exactly who you are and they can respond. We can also have QR codes on there, a good call to action. If whatever you're driving, just make sure that the call to action is on there for as long as possible. And that just makes it easier for people to respond. And with the attribution model, so we partner with Adeliza, whether you go down, the addressable route or just normal linear TV broad, we send them all the spot times that have gone out on a daily basis. And what they do is, when that spot goes out, because they've got a tag on your website, they track within the immediate 3 minute window or 7 days, 14 days, what's happened, what journey that person has taken from seeing your spot to going onto your website to then going to sale or action, wherever the action is. So you can measure that, and then you can optimize against which days, which day parts, which creatives, which second lengths are working best. So you're really driving those efficiencies and making sure your creative and your spend is working as hard as possible.
We can work with you and all of that. We've got so much experience of what works. I thought it was really interesting when you said before about your favourite ad, and you said, I thought it was Nike, but actually it was Pepsi. So you can spend a load on an ad and someone might not even know what it's for. In fact, you sometimes do see that with a really big premium expensive ad because you're watching it as a film and not as a product, which you can afford to do if you like. You can do whatever you want, can't you? But things like we've got loads of practical advice, get your logo on straight away, have it on all the way through. So we can, we work with brands all the time in that way to make sure it's going to work and have that impact. And we're building into our, the Norman system, so well named, isn't it? We're building into that, that kind of advice as well. So just so it's really, really clear exactly what you need to do and the steps you need to take, because I think it's the most overwhelming, confusing thing for advertisers when they start. Does this look good and will it have the impact that I want? So yeah, we're open to doing that. And just going back to your question as well, so I think you're from Casa Ceramica, yes. Which I walk past that showroom quite a lot. I mean, it's amazing. Your stuff is beautiful. I've been in before, and I think we can just, a brand like yours, you could actually target houses that are big in areas that are big, people that have just moved, all these things, someone that's undergoing a renovation. It's that highly targeted because we have sky data because people move and move their sky. And we also have things like 20CI, which I don't know if you've heard of, but they have, they work with Rightmove, Zoopla, all of those sites to have really rich data about when people are in different sort of stages of planning a move. So there's loads and loads of options out there you wouldn't believe that you could do on TV. It's very similar to targeting on digital.
Target postcodes or 5-mile radius from your outlet or shop or whatever. Yeah, so many different ways in which you can do it.
We trialled it in 2020, annoyingly, right at the wrong time. But, and we just trialled 2 locations. So we did Hampshire and Yorkshire. Yorkshire because we are Yorkshire business, and Hampshire because from Lancashire originally. But Yorkshire is where the factory is, and so we did Hampshire and Yorkshire, and we saw a huge uplift in those areas, but we couldn't afford to do the whole country. But we have looked at Sky more recently, and it is something that we are looking to do at some point. I keep putting it off because it's a huge investment, but it is quite exciting because I have seen the sort of numbers that do look really good in terms of the return. One question I had on behalf of marketing is, would we come directly to you, or would we use like a media agency like Cara, who we used last time, or something like that, or do you go directly to Sky?
We do take direct bookings, so you're more than
welcome to come directly to us. We have my friend Rebecca from an agency here. So it depends what stage you're at, I'd say. So, if you want to do a test and you're trying to keep it as cheap as possible, maybe it will work to go direct. If you're getting to the stage where you're incorporating lots of other things and you want it all to be working together, it could be more benefit to go to an agency. So it really depends what you're doing. So for a one-off test, come to us, we'll set up something direct, we'll help you in terms of your journey onward from there. So we'll share data with you that you get from that campaign. So this bit of your audience was working, this wasn't, why don't we try this? This area is quite similar to the one you tested, that kind of thing. There's loads you can get direct with us. But yeah, if it gets to a stage where you're growing, you're really big and you need to pull in something else, then it might make more sense.
I mean, what we try to do is just try and join up points and look at the whole how TV works across your whole ecosystem and the whole funnel, so we sort of give you a dashboard so you can sort of see how it's affecting branded search. So it's the immediate effect, but there's also the longer term effect, so it's looking across the entire funnel really.
We keep trying to do it, and then we're also like, because of everything that's happening in this sort of climate, it's like, we suddenly need to automate more. So it's like, instead of putting that quote from the lead into the campaign, it's, and now I need 2 new machines to go, because we're growing and because people are expensive. So everything just gets shifted into the factory, to a point where it's like the marketing budget is like -%. So, but it is sort of definitely on our radar to do, and I keep getting presented these amazing Sky campaigns, and I'm like, yes, I really want to do it, but then it's prioritising other things at the time.
Well, we're happy to speak to your marketing team and come over. Yeah, we'll see what we'll be able to pull together some really compelling insights from our tools that maybe will help drive that conversation. So yeah, we'll catch up.
Okay. Joe, you've had quite an interesting experience with TV and not advertising but Dragon's Den. So it'd be good to know just with that experience, how that changed your view on TV and how that worked for you. And
yeah, it had a big impact. It was in 2017. I don't know if anyone else has done Dragon's Den around the table, but it's one of the scariest things you'll ever do. It's like a job interview from hell. You're there for an hour and a half getting grilled. Obviously, only 10 minutes of it goes on TV. And we were lucky to get an offer. And so I think we got to maybe 15 minutes. But lasting impact, we were in a lot of retailers at the time with drinks, a line of drinks that we were doing, honey sweetened drinks. We're in Boots on the meal deal, we're in Waitrose Co-op, and we did see for the next week a big spike in sales immediately afterwards. But I think someone else mentioned it, just from an industry perspective, it helped open up conversations and, I've seen that one. And then from recruitment perspective, people, we saw you on Dragon's Den. It's sort of lots of other areas of the business that we weren't expecting had a big impact. It's obviously different to advertising, but Dragon's Den, still people mention it now, and that's sort of like 7-8 years on.
I'm a lot of years on.
You were on it, weren't you? Yeah.
I think it's just that brand.
Although it can have a negative effect as well. Like we got offers in the Den and accepted it, but then literally a week later, it's totally irrelevant to this conversation, but my window cleaner came to collect his money, and I opened the door and he was like, "Why do you live here?" Because everyone assumes you're like a multi-millionaire overnight, and it's like, and I was still working in a bar at the time, and it was so weird. So it can have a negative effect on your mental state at the same time, even if the business is doing well. It's like people don't get it.
Yeah, that first few weeks I got recognised a couple of times just walking around, and just that first week afterwards. It's weird. It's weird.
10 years it was like,
yeah, very cool. And then one thing that I think is really important for this conversation is just that trust. I think so many founders and their marketing teams spend years building up trust, and then suddenly when they want to do something that I suppose is more mass market, then that can change the dynamics slightly from that personal tone. So Dom, I know we had a quick chat about it, particularly in the supplements world. Yeah. So how have you seen that in terms of building up trust, but now you're trying to grow, how that changes?
Yeah, I think in the supplement space, obviously, Matt, you'll know as well, especially in electrolytes, like a lot of brands will enter the market. You don't have to necessarily say 100% what's in your product. So obviously the trust from a consumer point of view can be really low. So it's a really interesting one and hard one. All of our products are completely transparent. So every single ingredient, every dosage, fully listed. So you know exactly what you're putting into your body. But again, with that, even though we back our product and it's science backed and all that sort of thing, people will still comment on ads being like, "Oh no, it's not going to work," and all that sort of thing. So I think it'd be really interesting moving forward in the supplement space, like if some brands move into TV to sort of build that trust via that channel, because it's not something I've seen much of.
And I felt like when you were talking, exactly. And I felt like when you were talking just then, I could almost visualise your ad, the science-backed and the transparency in ingredients. And TV is the most trusted medium because people just think you're serious, you've spent money, you've invested in an ad, you're around all these. I think that the thing with premium content as well, you're around all these amazing shows, like HBO content and Paramount content. It really has an impact on the brand. So.
Because that's another trend, not even in supplements, but just more like D2C brands like Lily and Fig. Obviously, they've grown massively just through their own channels, but they've started to tap into TV. And I do think it is a trend that we'll probably start seeing more of over the next sort of years, of more traditionally online businesses looking to go into TV.
Definitely.
So actually, a stat I saw the other day, the biggest spenders on TV are online businesses.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the actual number was. I don't know if you remember the figure, but it was quite high compared to the other categories.
Do you think with that trend, obviously you're mentioning like minimum spend and stuff earlier, like the 50k, do you think with that trend, that would then start to potentially lower? So like a very online business who say puts 90% of their budget into Instagram ads, they might not want to necessarily spend 50 grand to start with? Like, would that, do you think, ever be lowered?
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
It just depends what you want to do. So it's not set in
No,
stone.
yeah, of course.
But that's to give you an example. If you really want to see, if you want to optimize your campaign in campaign, and you want to see those uplifts, then that's kind of like a good. But like I said, it's a conversation.
Testing just a small area or something you're really targeted. It's just, you don't want to spread yourself too thin, and you don't want to invest in a decent creative and not let it do its thing. Yeah, exactly. So it's a balancing act. But yeah, I appreciate that. There are other options. So yeah, we can always chat about it.
I think because it's more like in the D2C space. There's a lot of people who, like, my background is media agencies. I worked in MediaCom as well, and I understand it a bit more in terms of like the telly side of things. Whereas a lot of people in D2C have probably only ever done like Facebook ads and Instagram ads, and they probably don't necessarily see it. So if you're saying, okay, yeah, we'll spend 50 grand, they'll probably get a bit nervous.
Yeah.
Because it might be like, well, I can put that into Facebook and I will know instantly what that impact is having. So it'll be interesting to see what.
Yeah, and I suppose it's difficult because we, I talked about the Norman, our aggregated database. We won't have your brands in there, so it's a case of searching for something similar that's had similar size budgets, similar objectives, and we can still pull out something that will give you a bit more confidence and peace of mind. And maybe it's a case of actually just playing with the reporting and the measurement tools and stuff, and seeing what you'd get from it. I appreciate it's a risk, but you just, a new brand to TV always sees a big impact. Like it always works.
But then also, we're not just a TV. We've got video assets across our socials. We're the biggest YouTube reseller and content provider as well. So there's those options. And obviously a lot of that content is around sport, so it kind of fits in. So there's lots of different ways in which you can kind of access premium content, big screen content, but maybe on social or digital at Sky as well.
Joe, that must be the same in your world, I suppose, in terms of trust. I'm thinking any product that people either consume or they put on their skin, trust is always going to be a huge element. So how have you thought about that?
Yeah, I guess my challenge is getting my founder to invest in it. She had anti-TV, she come from a trading background, and I know that is my major challenge in terms of, I guess, a belief that TV doesn't work. And so it was all about the proof points, which is, so I'm really interested about the forecasting that you can do, because I know that would be the only chance that I've got of really getting anything like that signed off.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, that's my issue. But I believe that if we really want to create brands that people love, we have to do something like TV. But that for me is a journey that I'm going to have to take the founder on, because it's just not her world.
I'm sure there's a lot of founders around the table thinking, I get it.
Yeah.
It is hard to be convinced as well. It is a hard, even if you present the numbers, sometimes
I don't believe
in my world, I look at it and go, shit, this is easy when it's not your own money. It is a hard and a big leap of faith. And as you say, sometimes you're in an environment where you're producing it as well, and every day something breaks in the factory, right? Every day. And so that convincing is double. You also have to convince them not to spend it on something else.
Yeah.
What would make it easier then? From a media owner perspective, what would make your as a founder and you as a marketing person working with the founder?
I think for me it'd be the case studies, and then as accurate forecasting, which I know.
I also think there's an element of actual numbers. I think there's a lot that isn't said. We don't do adverts, we do a sponsorship, which is a different sort of animal. But what I didn't know is how much it would cost to do, for example, the actual advert. And so that was almost disproportionate to the amount of money spent on the yearly. And as I say, it does get less and less of a percentage if you can work out a way to use it for longer. But when you're spending it, you're spending it. It doesn't matter how in the future you keep it, how long in the future you keep it. And I think one should expect the founders not to understand that. Yeah. We aren't in your world, we're in our own world. I make commerce for a living. What I know about media is dangerous. And so, you know what I mean? So it's, I think it's also really important to just say, this is everything you need to know.
Yeah.
So it's a clear, I always felt like there was just so much I didn't know that I just didn't touch it.
So it's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. There's a lot. There's a lot of different angles, and I think if you can just do a whole picture that says, right, that's what that cost is. What we've seen. This is the futuristic cost. This is how long we think it can run for. This is where we're targeting. This is how. It's almost media for dummies.
Yeah, definitely. And we do want to create packages where it's all in, one stop. I think because there's so many elements to what we do. You know, we've got loads of partners, loads of media partners. Channels that range massively in size, tech-driven platforms. You know, we're the biggest publisher on YouTube across Europe. There's so much to it that everything we do is quite bespoke. But I think after sort of consulting with you, we would come back with an entire package. You know, including like your delivery costs, because you probably found I've got to actually get this ad on the telly, and that costs more than you realise. So. Yeah, we appreciate for new to TV, we need to spell that out, and that's very much our intention.
Mention, you know, in your case it worked at a certain junction of every single year, maybe it's in time for spring or whatever that is. There's a reason behind it. Ours is a year-long thing, but it's a commitment to the future as well. You're saying, I'm going to do it this year, but actually there's no use only doing it for 1 year. You want to do it for 2, because getting off of our sponsorship at the end of the year is. And be very specific about it. We targeted James Martin because it's that person, that it's me, the mother of 2/48-year-old who's watching a cooking show on a Saturday morning in pajamas. But that's the person buying the hummus. And so we targeted that viewer, and then but not Strictly Come Dancing, you know, or whatever, because we couldn't afford it. But that's not the point. But the issue was it's about trying to target it and find the target market who can still afford it. But there's so much around it, and it can be really scary and overwhelming, but it definitely is beneficial. There's no doubt about it. If you're on television and you can do it right, and you can supply the market. Because from a consumer perspective, if I'm selling hummus but I'm not listed everywhere, spending the money on TV makes zero difference. You may as well throw the money in the bin, because you have to be. Someone has to actually see the ad and then be able to buy it. If it's too hard to get it, then you literally throw money in the
Ramon, by the way, we've got 2 pots of your hummus in our fridge. Yeah, so I feel like I already know you, because you do look quite similar to what the illustration on the pot. But do you also track when you've done your ads brand awareness and uplifting that, and has that changed?
Well, that's for instance, I'm sure Sky does it, ITV does it for us. It is staggering how much they know. Scary how much they know. I'm sure you can answer it better than me, but we get big data packs on who's watching it. What was your question about?
Brand awareness.
How many people didn't know about the brand before and now know about the brand? New watchers, new buyers into that hummus market. I don't know how they know all this stuff. I don't know if it's true, but let's presume it is. And you know, it is staggering, but it is an unbelievable difference. Like, okay, we did a big campaign and we were already listed everywhere. So you saw it once, you ignored it, you saw it another 10 times in the show, the cooking show, and then eventually you saw it on the shelf and went, oh, where do I know that from? I'll try it. And then it's helped by the fact that someone else tasted it and said, oh, have you had that one? There is an element of everything, but you can't ignore how many eyeballs are on TV. How much time do we spend watching TV? A lot, you know.
Did you notice an increase in web traffic?
We don't sell on our website.
But even people looking.
I don't know.
Weird with food, isn't it?
Exactly. I don't think people. I mean, we like to believe they were a known and loved brand, but we're tiny. So, and I don't think so. People don't follow us on Instagram, even though it's quite interesting and quite funny to watch me on Instagram. But it is, you know, I think that I can love Nutella and be absolutely loyal to Nutella. Never buy Tesco own label chocolate sauce, but I don't follow Ferrero on Instagram. I don't go onto their website. So I think there is. Yeah,
I use that analogy all the time. I say, do you go on the Learpack website? No. Do I buy it every week?
Yes.
Like
That's
it's
exactly.
that's the thing.
But that's a known brand though, isn't it? With a brand that you've never heard of, so that looks interesting. I'll have a look. You know,
And I guess it's a price point thing as well. So I guess if you're buying tiles, you're going to make sure that it's a good quality because you're spending a lot of money. Mine's a £3.50 spend. If you mess it up, you're spending £3.50. It's not a huge risk yet. So you may not investigate it. Whereas, insurance or something like that, you might say, oh God, this is a big decision.
It helps as well from a retail brand is when you advertise. So obviously every Saturday morning I'm there for James Martin, but obviously I see Ramona, and then you go into store and you see it, or you see that it's 50p off or that. So when you try and balance the retail promotions with your online promotions, it just all interlinks because people are looking for a bargain when you go shopping because the cost of food is going up, even though it's going up from say £3.30 to £3.50. Everyone still knows about it, and you've got to sort of try and.
Actually, being on TV is a really good way of putting your prices up as well, because you tend to just, if you're famous, you're on TV, you're trusted, you tend to be able to get away with price increases. And we really saw that a few years ago with McCain, where they had huge growth targets and they own frozen chips. It's quite hard to drive loads more growth in frozen chips. And they put the price up by 40p, but did a massive ad campaign and no one noticed or complained. So TV really does support when you've got to do tough things like that. And this is why Syra mentioned before our retail media partnerships with the likes of dunnhumby and also Nectar Data, and we're exploring Ocado as well. So then you have that element of, okay, you probably need to be on for a decent period of time with a decent volume, but actually is that translating through to sales? That's something we can look at as well.
And Nectar puts the media people to shame on how much data they've got.
Yeah, exactly. Everything about a household, yeah.
Well, I'm conscious of time. We have just 10 minutes left, so keen that we wrap this up in the right way. So what I'd love to do is just get last minute bullet point tips for those at the table from yourselves. So I don't know who would like to start, but Sam, let's come to you from a scale up point of view.
Well, I think
what are the tips?
Coming back to what you're saying is about are you ready for TV? Are you good enough to be on TV? Because TV is a kind of a tacit endorsement. You'll all be familiar with the phrase "as seen on TV." It's a reminder. It joins up with things. It's basically said somebody's invested the time and effort to put something out here. They're not charlatans. It's a regulated body as well, so I can't flip. Not that I ever would, being a marketing person. But so there's that. The other thing I just wanted to touch on, which I haven't had time to mention, TV is quite a flexible medium in the sense of, well, it's increasingly flexible, so it can be reactive in terms of digital, in terms of when I need to book it, I don't have the AV deadlines as quite so fast and quite so far in advance. If things aren't working, the broadcasters will work with you to find alternative airtime, etc. if there's an operational issue. But the other thing I wanted to mention is TV kind of allowed us to branch off in a completely different direction as well. So not only are we an e-commerce business, but we're increasingly in real life business. We have a growing number of show sites. We've got one show site in 2023 to about 33 as we speak, and we'll probably end on 40 for the year. And again, there's an element of trust and awareness, your mental availability. So not only does it help us attract franchisees to run the network because they have trust in your marketing spend, they can see your marketing spend, but also, it helps us find locations because we're a pretty brand now, we're on TV. And when you have passing footfall in garden centres and where we're based, people see the brand and know of the brand because partly that's the age demographic, but partly because it's down to TV. It's also seasonal. Nothing operates in a vacuum. You can have all the data in the world, but you can't legislate for Vladimir Putin. You can't legislate for Chinese bat factories. You can't legislate for anything like that. And we're a very sort of summer business. Coming back to about TV, yes, we are concentrated in 3 months, but I'd love to broaden that. So, I have a challenge with my founder to release more budget. I'd love to advertise in August. I'd love to advertise in July, because again, nobody else is. and that's when people are outdoors. So it's all, you know, there's quite a lot of opportunity and good medicine from TV.
Yeah. Bex, any pointers from a more agency point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think just a bigger picture. I think just, you know, long-term growth for your business, just, you know, brand advertising is just crucial for long-term growth, and TV is the best medium to do that. You know, if you sort of stay in that lower performance funnel, you know, you won't grow as much, and you'll probably have to rely on promotions and sales, you know, promotions to get by. So I think just the more you build your brand, you've got to create demand. Certainly if you're an e-commerce brand, you've got to create demand before you capture it. So, you know, TV will sort of create that demand, but it is, you know, it's not as easy to track as branded search. You know, it's not all about instant ROI. It's more sort of a demand generator, you know, a conversion multiplier, and just a long-term growth driver. So it's understanding what it's not. You know, it's not about last-click attribution. It's, you know, the digital metrics don't necessarily apply, but, you know, it will grow your brand. But it's just capturing that brand.
If people fast forward through the ads, that data class is being viewed. Like,
no, you don't pay for it.
Can you fast forward through ads? I've tried it in millions.
It depends how you're watching.
If you're watching ITVX, then you can't. I get, yeah. I was kind of, I was watching then. I've never watched them.
Sorry,
You don't pay for it, no. So the good thing about TV, it's very transparent. So I don't know if you've heard Barb. So it's a panel that, you know, we understand, and it's a public body that we know who's viewing, and, you know, it's been the gold standard of TV measurement for 30 years. So in terms of transparency, everyone can see it. So I can go and look at your campaign, any campaigns I book, another agency can look. So it's in the arena. As long as you subscribe to Barb, anybody can watch it. So from that point of view, it's a very accountable medium. You know, it's regulated, it's trusted, it's seen by humans.
And I've been shown a lot of data about the efficacy of television advertising. And I don't know why they did it, but why they showed us that data. But it is staggering, the amount of data that's out there proving that the amount of eyeballs on TV is disproportionate to what we can do on social.
Yes, it is.
Sure. Then, Rufina, sorry, any last comment? What should people take away from this session as a key learning?
I would say everyone's always scared of TV, and it's always seen as a branded, and it is, but it's also measurable. You can optimize it, and you can drive efficiencies, and it's a great way to scale, and you don't have to go all in. You can do it in small steps, so you can do both.
Perfect.
I mean, I'd only really add, just use the expertise that's available, brief us in, tell us your broader business objectives if you're not clear on what the role is for TV, and just see what comes back, and yeah, we're here to help.